What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris, and today's missing person case is Don. Also, today's person of interest is Olivia. Today's missing person case is Courtney.
Hello? Oh, nothing more creepier than a freaking shaft. Hello? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Before we get started, I have a sponsor for today's live show, so I'm going to quickly play that real quick, and then we'll get started with today's show. Mob Crew and friends, are you prepared for the widespread food shortages ahead? Farmers have been warning us for months, but are we listening? They say it's beyond their control, especially with the fertilizer crisis. Bottom line, food shortages will be a harsh reality very soon. That's why you should get ready now with emergency food from My Patriot Supply. And good news, today you'll save 20% on their 3-month food kit. These kits provide delicious, easy to make breakfasts, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks for one person for 3 solid months. Get one for each member of your family while you're able to save 20% during this timely sale. Remember, My Patriot Supply is the nation's largest preparedness company with millions of families already protected. These 3-month food kits, which average 2,000 calories a day, are in stock and ready to go. Your order ships fast and free and arrives in unmarked boxes. Go to preparewithwww.preparewiththemobcrew.com. Those who know what's coming are already prepared. Are you? Prepare with www.preparewiththemobcrew.com. Thank you so much. All right, so thank you so much for My Patriot Supply for sponsoring today's video. And welcome, everybody. Before we get started, of course, we like to feature the missing. So today we have, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Libby Arnold went missing in St. Louis, Missouri. She is believed to be with an adult male. She was reported missing on June 26th of this year. She's just 7 years old, only 3'6", 70 pounds. If you have any information, the phone number to call is 636-529-8210. Once again, that is Libby Arnold, last missing from St. Louis, Missouri. Real quick, if you guys can hear me all right, could you put a 1 in the chat? It's been a while since I've been live. I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay, and I'm not too loud here. Fix this just a little bit. I'm going to eventually get a mic, drop-down mic, a boom mic. That'll be much better because my desk doesn't come out as far as I'd like to it. And I'm really tall, so I can't really get up too close. Perfect. Thank you guys so much for putting 1 in the chat. Okay, and then we got one more. So we got Michelle Rose Bernstein Schultz. She went missing, or was last seen in Phoenix, Arizona. Arizona is, up there when it comes to the missing. She was 36 years old, 5'6", 170 pounds, hazel gray eyes, and it says she has short black hair. So she was last seen in the area of 40th Street and Greenway Road in Phoenix, Arizona. She was last seen on June 29th of this year. Excuse me. Last seen wearing gray sandals with green accents and a black mask. So there is Michelle. And the phone number to call if you have any information is 602-262-6141. All right. Sound is more clear and louder than usual. I think it sounds pretty good. Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'm eventually going to get a mic that comes down just because the position I have everything, it works for now, but it'd be a lot easier just to have something that kind of drops down. So, all right. So, getting into today's updates. So, we'll start with Jolissa Fuentes, who unfortunately was found. At least the family does get, closure. Probably not what they were looking for, but so Jolissa, she went missing just a couple days after Kylie Rodni, so she went missing on the 7th. She was last seen in Selma, California. She was actually seen at a gas station. It's an AM/PM gas station on Nebraska Avenue in Selma, California. And then she had supposedly, her sister received 2 missed video calls from that number, but they hadn't seen her since. And so, unfortunately, they did find her car and her. It was a terrible accident. Some pictures of her car. Oh, it's just terrible. You can see the airbags deployed. She looks like she kind of went off the side of a cliff here, which is really sad. You can see here where they're kind of up on the ridge here. This is, I think, near Billy Creek, and we'll take a look at Google Earth here, but absolutely terrible. I don't know if she was under the influence or not, but it's real easy if you're not paying attention. If it's dark, you just, all it takes is just a little bit to go off the road, and unfortunately, so here is just a quick snippet of I think this is part of the press conference. Let me turn this up.
Involved in a
Okay, let me back it up here.
evidence that Ms. Fuentes was involved in a traffic collision, and her vehicle went off the side of the road, up off of Trimmer Springs Road, what I would describe as the northern part of Pine Flat Lake. At that time, we were able to come back and reconnect with the sheriff's office and the search and rescue team, who then went out last night till at least midnight and rappelled down a 250-foot cliff to recover Ms. Fuentes. So, again, this was a joint effort by all of our law enforcement agencies. Our investigators did a phenomenal job of researching tons and tons of digital data, trying to locate Ms. Fuentes, and we wish that there was, we had better news and that it wasn't such a sad time right now, if you will. I wish that we could have brought Ms. Fuentes home healthy. However, it appears that she passed during this collision.
So yeah, that happened a couple days ago. Well, let's see. Double check. I can't remember the exact date. It's like 2 or 3 days ago they found her. Since Sunday, they found her Tuesday morning. Oh, they held the press conference Tuesday. What was she found Monday? Obviously, this happened way before, but they finally found her at the beginning of this week, I believe, or this weekend. I can't remember the exact date. See if anybody knows in the chat. I know it was just recently, a couple days ago, they found her, but obviously missing for a couple months. And I'll just kind of show you where she was last seen and where they found her. So she was last seen in Selma, California here at 4 a.m. And then obviously drove up this way here. And I don't think this is, I'm not sure if this is an exact area. I just kind of put the car here, but this looks about the spot because they had it circled about right here. So it could have been, but as you can see, this is, and I'm used to this. I mean, because we have the Rocky Mountains here in Utah. So we have mountains and, you go up the canyons, we have the same roads that just curve along these hills and there's no barriers to protect you, unfortunately. And you can just easily, especially at night, it's pretty scary. You have to be very careful, go really slow. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what part she was found. I don't know. It kind of looks like this side. I could be wrong, but somewhere around this area here. It could be on this side. Not sure. But yeah, just fortunately driving something like that at night, it's dangerous. And like I said, we've got so many roads that are just like that here in Utah. When we go fishing at certain lakes, just like here, it's the same exact thing. And it's scary because a lot of them, they don't have any barriers, to protect you from, just going off the edge. But I mean, at least the family gets closure. They're not worried about her, freezing, and they do get some closure on that. So prayers to the family. Just one more. We'll just take one last look here. Pull that one back down. So yeah, here's the car. It looked like it didn't make it all the way down the cliff. Kind of got landed on some rocks here. But yeah, that's heavily beat up. But yeah, just look how steep that road is, and that hill. That's once you start going off of it, there's no stopping you. That's tough. And I guess they had searched this area before, or even flew some drones over it. And I guess it's there's a special thanks. Let me quickly read that article real quick, and then we'll move on. But I guess this, I think it's a detective. He, because they had searched that area, and then I think it's Mims. Sheriff Mims said the vehicle was found after Chief Alcarez went back to, so maybe it was this Alcarez guy, went back to the area and personally found the scene of accident. He personally found the scene of the accident, said Mims. He went up to the mountains yesterday on his own, researching the areas that had already been searched, and on his own he actually found the scene of the accident. And so just glad they get answers. Terrible tragedy though. So oh wow, in Malibu is a straight 1,000 foot drop. People go off it all the time. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I don't know if we've got 1,000 foot drop, but man, it seems like it in some of these areas. We go up the canyons. There's East Canyon that's here in Utah, and it looks just like that, except I think times 2. So, all right, we'll close that. Then just a quick date on Cassie Carli, who went missing. What day did she go missing? She went missing on March 27th. Of course, they were doing an exchange with the ex-husband, which is Marcus. And they were doing it in front of, let's see, do they have a picture of it? I wish I had my notes, but so I think they were doing an exchange with the daughter Taylor. I gotta double check on that. And he had this trailer that's like a walk-in trailer, and apparently they were seen going in it, and that was the last time they saw Cassie. This was in Florida, and then they hadn't seen her for a while. And then let me read the actual thing. So she would unfortunately be found on April 2nd, 300 miles from where she was last seen in Navarre Beach. And she was found in a shallow grave inside a barn in Springville, Alabama. And the coroner just came out and ruled the cause of death as undetermined, which is really odd because she was found in a shallow grave, so it makes no sense. The family, I'm sure, is very upset. They feel like Marcus is the one responsible. He was obviously arrested after the body was found. This property, I think, was actually connected to him. So it's like, what are the odds? Yes, it says right here. So Cassie Carli, abusive boyfriend Marcus, was arrested after the mother's body was found in a property connected to him. So it's just so weird that they would rule it undetermined. And so he has court on October 17th. So that is, 5 days? 4 days? 4 or 5 days? And so, so according to the autopsy report, according to WFLA, Cassie's cause and manner of death have been ruled as undetermined. The surprising ruling has stumped prosecutors about whether they can prove Cassie's ex, Marcus, is connected to her death. I mean, what are the chances they find her buried, on a property that he owns? It's so odd. Hopefully they get more answers and they change it. But yeah, they had at the time she was 4 years old, a daughter that they shared, Sailor, and they were doing an exchange in a parking lot at a local restaurant, and that was the last time she was seen. And they believe that he took her to Alabama, did whatever, might have even killed her there in the trailer. Who knows? And then luckily, he dropped off Sailor to the mother's family. So the daughter that they share is obviously fine and in the custody of the mother's, family. And then he was found in Tennessee, I think. Or is this the same one? Yeah, I think Tennessee. So, Marcus, 34, was taken into custody days later. Lebanon, Tennessee, charged with evidence tampering, giving false information. And even before Cassie passed away, she told her sister that she feared for her life, and if anything were to happen to her, that it was Marcus who did it. So I think we've seen that happen, like in the O.J. Simpson case. So, just terrible. Yeah. Hey, True Crime with Shannon. Good to see ya. Sailor was with him for a period of time, but luckily, I'm just so glad that she was returned safe. So that's the update on that case. Really strange. Hopefully, let's see. Like I said, I think his court date is October 17th. I am almost positive. Is it 17th or 18th? One of the two. Let's see if I can click on it. No, it just shows this picture. For a second. Same thing. 4th. March 30th. for the date, but I don't see it. But I'm pretty sure it's the 17th because he was in court on May 5th, but I think his actual court is the 17th. But I can't find where it says it. All right, so there is that. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, True Crime. Yeah, I'd seen it, and I can't find it, of course. It's the 17th. Awesome. All right. Thank you. All right, I'm just going to write that down. Okay. So, yeah, that's just in a couple days. So that's what, Monday? Be. Yeah, I think that would be Monday. All right. So then moving on to Delphi. Smug little POS. He's so evil. I know. They say, like, he has this evil look, you know. We always hear that with, like, you know, like, not even just serial killers, just killers themselves. That they, you know, their eyes, you know, it's like they have, like, no soul to them. And that's what the sister said she experienced when she, you know, encountered him, is that he had this look, evil look, which is terrible. All right, so moving on to Delphi. So there was an interview with a searcher, which is we'll say Eric. It's not hard to figure out his full name, but he did an interview with a YouTube podcast called Unresolved Crimes. I don't know too much about them, but I do have the link to the actual full interview, and I'm just going to play just a part of it. But it's really interesting. He talks about February 13th, the night of, and searching for the girls. What he comes across is, I think, kind of interesting. It's something that's part of what he talks about, and we'll play it and then we'll talk about it. But there's some things that he came across that he thought were odd, and I would definitely agree. I think we could all agree. And so anyway, he got interviewed. He hasn't talked since, like, he had like a short little interview on the news when they hadn't actually found the girls. Like, there was like a short clip of him. I tried to find it before I went live, but I couldn't. But there's a short clip of February 13th where they were still looking for the girls. And anyway, he wasn't the one that found the girls, but he was out there the first night. And what he kind of talks about, I think, is kind of interesting. So I'm going to play part of that, and then we'll also talk about Kagan as well, and just kind of everything that's going on. But so I'm going to...
All right. I'm thinking that I'm making a fair point that if this
So this is the unresolved crime, guys.
We should have that
county.
So they kind of talk soft, but this guy Eric talks pretty loud. Let me know if it's too loud. I think it should be okay. If it's too loud, let me know. Maybe I'll turn it just a little bit, because they sound soft and then he's like really loud. But I just want to play the part where he talks about these tracks and then what he found after these tracks.
And went out by an old, I think it's like a stone quarry. Said, you know, I need your help. I need an old...
Okay, so I'm going to put to the part where he talks about arriving at this quarry, which is, I guess, like south. And I'll pull up Google Earth while he's talking, and I'll kind of point to the areas that I think he's talking about.
I think it's like a stone quarry back in that area. It'd be to the southeast of the bridge. And we come around that way out on County Road. Yeah. And then we come back up to the track line right there. There's first there was like a little pull off to access the river or a trail or something. And so this van pulls up behind us, and that was Channel 18 News. We found out a few moments later. They videoed me going through a trash can, you know, like that was a lot of the hype.
That was late at night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was when we got to that point. See, I'm jumping around and I don't even realize it. But yeah, it was getting kind of dark. Just before dark, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a channel 18 segment that a lot of people tell you that you made a slip of a tongue, but you didn't really realize what was going on.
And I'll tell that someone, no matter who it is, that very well might be that I slipped it. That very well might
slip of a tongue. That does not. You saw tracks, and I was doing research on.
Okay, so the two things that I just want to highlight about this conversation is these ATV tracks that he found, which he thought were kind of suspicious and where they led, and then what he finds kind of towards the end of this tracks or whatever.
Tracks. So that's how we came across. So you were saying. Go ahead.
Dude, I can even remember the track pattern of that track. Okay, like that's how distinct that track set in my mind that day. Like I can tell you that was it was like a triangle, like an arrow type pattern on their tire. Like I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember that track in that mud going up that hill.
So it was fresh, right?
Okay, so while this is playing, I just want to show you what's going on here. So obviously here is the Monon High Bridge. You know, the girls walked across. Then, you know, the guy came up, you know, somewhere around in here at Platform 6. Which Platform 6? It's tough to see. Where I think that might be Platform 6. It's kind of... Actually, I know I can make this easier. Give me 1 second. Let me go back. There we go. Now we can see. Okay, perfect. Okay, so there's Platform 6. So obviously, you know, the girls at the end of the bridge, they were going to come back because, you know, it's really just kind of like a dead end, you know, because it's private property here. Clearly, it's most likely this guy knew the terrain in the bridge and knew that these girls were going to have to come back. So it was basically they were trapped. Anyway, then he, you know, escorts them down. It's good possibility that they try to run across the river, and then their bodies would be found kind of in this area about 50 feet from the creek. So now this guy, the searcher on that night, he talks about seeing some ATV tracks that he thought were that stood out to him. And this is the people that interviewed Eric. They had kind of had him like kind of draw these dots of like where he apparently walked and saw these tracks. So it looks like, as you can see, it starts kind of back off the property here. Let me see if I can do this. Come on. There we go. So it looks like the tracks kind of start back here, and then they wing under the bridge itself here. So that's kind of what we're seeing here. And I think this red dot, so it says right here, is roughly where the ramp made to come from that property down to the river, where the quad tracks were so essentially coming straight down. So he says the tracks, I guess, are somewhere about here that lead down and under. So, all right, so I'm going to continue playing. There's two things that really kind of stick out in this interview. It's very interesting.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Hey, Rogan, so honored to have you in here, buddy.
Man, I tell you what can't leave my mind, okay? Here's the things that can't leave my mind. I came in from a county road, and I walked the tracks, okay? This track line was completely impassable, okay? Nobody had walked these tracks for I'm telling you, years. Nobody. There was trees coming up through the whole entire track line down the center of it. It was impassable. There was moments that even I struggled to go through, and at that point in time, I was very strong, very much in my prime, and very, very apt to being out in those conditions. Okay? And it was tough for me to pass through. If that tells you how impassable this track line was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just thick brush all through it. Where the ground was uneven, there was trash that had accumulated and rotten trees that had fallen. You had to watch your every step. So that's one of the first things that stays on my mind is there wasn't, to my opinion, any type of access to or from that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so as we push forward and we go on through, and then we get to where we're going down the hill line. All right. And I'm starting to see it's clearing out, everything's starting to be where somewhere along the years, somebody's cleared it out, cleaned it up, made it like their yard, or so to speak.
Yeah.
But yet had been let go. It wasn't like pristine or nothing like that. It just been somewhere in the recent years that somebody cleaned it up, and then it started overtaken again.
Yeah.
So you have little brushes growing, little saplings, and stuff like that. It just wasn't real thick, side by side, impassable terrain. And so we get to the bottom of this hill, and I see this trail going up, which is very common in Carroll County for all your riverbeds. There's a farmer will take a dozer or backhoe, and they'll create a drive line, access the creek for camping, fishing, whatever it is they might be doing. Some of them might use it for cattle to get the drinks of water, whatever. But it's very common.
So I'm going to pause it just for those that are tuning in. We're listening to Eric. He was there searching for the girls that first night. They obviously went missing on February 13th. He's talking about seeing some quad tracks that he thought were kind of out of place. They stuck out to him. That's after these 5 years, it still sticks in his mind. He's talking about going down. I'm not sure exactly. They kind of put these dots, and it sounds like they're somewhere estimated, but I don't know approximately. But it sounds like, you come down this hill. You've got this private driveway, which leads up to the one residence. But it sounds like he's down maybe further down here. He's talking about a trail that leads to the creek. Could be somewhere in here on this side somewhere. And so it looks like he's kind of following a path like under the bridge, kind of leading back this way here, because he would end up almost all the way to the creek or at the creek. He just never was on the other side. And sadly, he would actually be just right across the creek from where the girls' bodies would be found the next day. And it kind of tears him up that, knowing now what he knows, that he was real close, So anyway, we're going to go ahead and keep playing it here because there's a couple of things that are really strange.
So at first thought it didn't hit me until I got to the bottom and I kind of looking around and I seen the tracks coming out of.
Okay, and just real quick, just shout out to Unresolved Crimes Podcast. I do have the link to the full video in the descriptions because they're the one that interviewed him. So just got to give a proper shout out to them.
Of it, and I got to looking a little closer and I could see the tracks going back up it. Like I said, one set of tracks, one set coming down and it goes back up. At that point, we're pushing on and I start seeing deer antlers and skulls of, I believe, was a rabbit in the tree.
Was it like hanging in a cord or something, or just like literally in a tree?
They were decapitated, just the face of the skulls and the antler, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were just set.
Well, obviously, bones are going to... I think that it's weird they use decapitated. I think bones, they're going to be separated, so I wouldn't take too much into that. But the fact that what he's going to talk about here in a second is a little interesting, a little weird. Maybe teenagers just being teenagers, bored, piling up bones, sticking them in trees. That would be my most likely scenario. My guess would be there could be a possibility that it could be something more ritual. I would lean more towards just teens just messing around. But it is interesting to note that this was out there. It's something that was talked about or rumored. There was even pictures, but I don't want to put up the pictures because I'm not sure if they're from the actual area. But there was pictures of supposedly bones and skulls hanging from trees and stuff. And, they thought it could have been something more, nefarious.
Like, you know how a tree will fork, so they weren't even like hanging on a broken branch so that they'd stay put. They were just resting in the forks of trees, you know what I mean? Just like placed in there. Yeah, and it was almost like it, you know, it had to almost be recently placed in there because, like I said, it wasn't like a limb coming through the eye socket of this deer skull or this rabbit skull. You know, it was just resting there. So when the weather and winds would come through, you would think that stuff would fall out of them trees as they sway around. Which leads me to believe that they was recently done. And then right close to the bottom of that hill where I noticed the tracks, that's where the pile of bones were. And I'm going to tell you, there was all types of bones there. Like I could identify squirrel, rabbit. I could identify, it appeared to be a dog or maybe a coyote. There was deer. There was other large bones that I just assumed was cattle or hog.
Yeah, at this
again,
point,
some of the
yeah, because I mean, I don't know exactly, but obviously this is getting into night, so it's, you know, I'm assuming it's kind of, you know, starting to get completely dark at this point, because eventually here he's going to talk about where they could have put something up on the bridge with some lighting source. So I'm assuming it's just about dawn.
Do you think, like, the things that I told you, it could be anything, right?
Man, I'll tell you what was entering my mind at that point is that there's some type of satanic cult, and this may be where they practice.
Yeah. So I think that's less likely. I mean, this could be a possibility, but you know, I could definitely see kids just being, you know, or teenagers just being bored and piling up bones, and but there is always that possibility that could have happened. And I'll make talk about something at the end here, but it was a little interesting.
What was kind of entering my mind and my thoughts at that point.
Thank you so much,
and
Libby.
So we, you know, keep pushing on. No signs of anything, no trails, no drag marks that I noticed. I'm not no type of private investigator, detective, or anything like that, but I tell you, I do pay very close attention. And a lot of my friends and people that know me say that I am a type of a detective. So that all that stuff comes natural to me. So as I'm going on, we get up, you know, we walk up the tracks on through and we get up to the trestle area. It was like pitch dark.
So it sounds like he kind of went somewhere like this, you know, off to the left of the tracks, went under it. Then at some point circled back, I guess. I don't know if he came back just the same way. I think that's what he kind of says, is he ends up coming back up the same way, but then ends up on the trestles here. And so now it's pitch black is what he's talking about. So it looks like he, you know, kind of where it's still a little bit of light, he traveled down here. I'd seen, you know, I'm not sure exactly where, but, you know, I'd seen these animal bones piled up and some skulls in the corner of the tree and stuff. Thought that was kind of odd, possibly, you know, some kind of ritual. Could just be teenagers being teenagers. But I did want to mention that, you know, the scene of the crime was, you know, they said it was odd. You know, there's even talks about dolls and there even ritualistic stuff. So maybe there was just that stuff could have been just there already, and it just so happens that girls just ended up being killed around there, and then they find all this stuff that, you know, he's kind of talking about. That could have been the possibility. And that's why they say it's a strange, you know, the crime scene was so strange, is that maybe that stuff was just kind of out there already. I don't think the girls were obviously, you know, sacrificed or anything like that. I think it's just kind of unfortunate thing that maybe all that stuff was out there to begin with. But Thank you, Lou Bailey, for becoming a member. And Rita, thank you so much for the, is that North Korea? And okay, I don't recognize that, but thank you so much for the 55. That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Rita. So I'm going to play just a little bit more of the interview. And like I said, shout out to Unresolved Crimes for this interview. And I'm just going to play just a little bit more in the description. The full interview is in the description of this video.
At that point, and there was several people standing in the area. And so I'm going up and I ask one of the guys, because I go during the daylight, I didn't have a flashlight in my hand, I didn't. And so I go to cross these trestles, and I believe it was a fireman. I'm not positive on that. Like I said, it was dark. I was tired. My mind was already in one of the worst places possible for these little. I already had a gut feeling this wasn't going to be a good turnout. And they tried to tell me I cannot pass through. Like, all right, first off, no, she's not my daughter, but I'm treating this as if. This is my friend's daughter, and I've been asked by my friend to come on scene and to help identify or, find them.
I know what you mean. Even though a lot of people.
Yeah, that's.
By the way, I am recording it.
Yeah, that's what's been talked about is the crime scene was staged. That's why I kind of wonder if maybe they just happened to, along with maybe some stuff that obviously maybe the killers did, there's obviously stuff that was there around it that just happened to be there already. And just so it just added more to the, the atmosphere of this maybe staged crime or whatever. Norwegian crone. Okay. All right, cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Rita. And thank you for explaining that, Rose. It's that first donation from Norwegian. That's so cool. Thank you. So it sounds like he, now it's dark and he's up on the bridge. I'm assuming he came from this way here and met up with a firefighter on the bridge here.
So do not worry about it. But a lot of people go.
Yeah. So, all right. So I tell this guy, hey, give me that light and I'll shine that, because he had a pretty powerful light. Like, it was huge. And I said, give me that light. I'll shine a light from a different perspective that anyone else is seeing at this point. Like I told you earlier, I think outside the box, period.
That's good.
Like, there was nobody on this trestle, which struck me to be wrong and odd as all hell wouldn't have it. First off, there should have been, dude, if I had a bigger truck than what I had, or, I didn't even drive myself, but had I had a big truck with big tires, I'd have drove my truck out in the middle of that fucking trestle and shied spotlights off from it. Like I'd have lit that whole entire place up like a football field, bro. And, they had all the means to do that and didn't.
So he's saying that they could have probably driven something up on the tracks here. I close that now. I'm assuming this is what he's talking about is like drive a truck up onto the ramp, because people obviously take ATVs. Now, I don't know if you'd want to do it now, because apparently there's been a lot more railroad ties that I guess went missing. But I think what he's saying is that he wanted to take like a vehicle, drive it up on this, and then, with those spotlights that people have on top of their trucks and stuff, and shine it, this way and this way or whatnot. And of course, being February, this is kind of what it looked like, obviously. So, yeah, that could have maybe helped. Obviously, I think they were really thinking, because the girls were last known to be at this bridge. This bridge is high up. I think that they were worried about that they had fell through somewhere. So I could see where the first, who knows how many hours, they're thinking that these poor girls might have fell through, one of these, gaps or something, because this bridge is pretty long. And I could see that, they're checking under this area, and so that's why they were kind of down there. Unfortunately, the girls were back, on the other side of the creek over here. So I think that first night they were, more focused on this area here. But still odd that what he talks about, finding the. I don't know if the ATV tracks are as uncommon. I think because we hear GK, used to drive ATVs all the time, so I don't think that's as odd. But the bones. The fact that they're kind of stuck up in trees and stuff, I think that's a little odd. Like I said, it's more likely just some teenagers being stupid. But, we don't know. Yeah, I think it is highly unlikely, but it wouldn't surprise me that maybe that stuff was on the other side of the creek as well and just happened to add to the atmosphere of what everything else was going on. But, Is this the guy friend of one of the girls' dad? Yes, I believe so. Yeah, Eric. I don't want to say his full name. It's not hard to research him, but yeah, he's a close family friend, and that's why he talks about when he's up on the bridge. And the firefighter's telling him no. He's like, well, I don't care. This is like basically just almost like my own daughter.
So it really struck me odd that this was their focal point. That this was where they, because I believe that's where the girls were supposed to be meeting up with their father to get picked up. And so that was their focal point. And for them to not have it lit up like 4th of July just astound me. So, that's another point that just stands out in my mind so bad it's not funny.
Yeah.
So give me that light. I'm going across these tracks. You are not going to stop me. No one here is enough to stop me. I'm going across those fucking tracks. And so the guy says, well, you're not getting this light. And you're right. I can't stop you. Just be careful, man. It's very dangerous. The trestles are a lot further apart than they look. And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, people take pictures of them on this trestle all the time. Like, how dangerous can it be? So he gives me.
So shout out to Unresolved Crime. They're here in the chat. Great interview. I've got the link to this video in the description of this video here. So definitely go check that out. It's a whole hour. I think we'll stop it there because there's more to it though. And they have their own theories. Unresolved Crime does. And so if you want to hear that, I would go check out their channel and podcast. I appreciate you doing that interview. It's interesting to hear from him and what he kind of experienced that first night. I can't imagine what he went through. I feel bad for him just knowing that, he was real close to where the girls were at, from what it sounds like. And just to kind of recap, so it looks like he kind of, obviously when he got there, he said he had arrived somewhere south of the bridge, and they made it up through this way, and then came back down around here. I think, now I'm just guessing here, but that's where the dots are at. And I guess saw the ATV tracks here that kind of looked out of place, or just they stuck out to them, just the tire tracks or the treads, I guess I should say, that are triangle shaped. And then looks like he kind of made his way, and I guess he was somewhere about here. And of course the girls would be found, unfortunately, just 50 feet from this creek, right about, somewhere about in here. So I can only imagine that's got to be tough. Just YouTube. I thought about it, maybe in the near future, but don't mention it. Use it all you want. It was a pleasure talking to Eric. Thank you, Unresolved Crime. That's awesome, buddy. I appreciate that. I'll leave the rest. You guys can go check it out. Karen Lee was happy to put up, and I'll go ahead and pin it at the top if you guys want to check that out. And like I said, I think it's a great interview. Because, a lot of stuff is kind of speculation at this point. And just kind of recap everything with Kagan Klein. There's been some assumptions that Kegan Kline and I hope this isn't true just for the sake of Abby and Libby and the family, but, you know, it could be a possibility that, yes, Kagan Klein did confess, but it could be a false confession, and he's just thrown his dad under the bus, and it may not be true. Could be a possibility. There's a guy that did an article on Reddit. I guess he works at the prison, or I'm not sure exactly, but I guess he sees this stuff all the time. Apparently, he says that, you know, some of these guys, because obviously, supposedly, Kagan's got a fiance now and has hope. So what this guy was talking about is he feels like there could be a possibility that, you know, at first Kagan Klein was just, you know, just going to accept consequences and not say anything because there wasn't anything really to say. He was just, unfortunately, someone that just happened to be talking to Libby. But, I mean, I still think it's odd that the coincidence behind that. That's why it leans me more towards I'm hoping that this confession is true and that this will lead to, you know, some kind of closure and lead to BG. But anyway, this guy was saying that that all these girls that Kagan's been talking to is now giving him hope, and then now he comes up with this fake confession, and now they've got him running around searching for stuff. But let's hope that's not true, because I really just, you know, for the family's sake, hope that there's closure. But that is kind of a possibility that there's a confession, but it's a false confession. But we know that there was a 5-week search with the Wabash River. What we learned recently is, what's interesting, is that part of this confession is that Kagan Klein said that after they were there at the Monon Bridge, they left and they went to the residence. Let me pull it up here. They went to the grandparents' residence, so Tony Klein's mother, which is on Papa Pike. All those places are just like right there. Oh no, that's not the right one. There we go. So you've got their house here in Peru, you know, what they were living in 2017, Tony and Kagan. Then you got the grandparents' home, which is just 5 minutes away on Papa Pike. Supposedly that they had burned the evidence after leaving the Monon High Bridge. And then you've got the residence to his cousin, Tony's cousin, on the country club, which is 5 minutes away as well. So everything is all kind of right there. I would really hope that this confession is true and that there is, you know, some kind of closure soon. But we'll see. What do you guys think? So before we go, I've got a new donation dance. It's kind of ode to Chris Farley because I grew up watching Chris Farley. And he was like my favorite comedian growing up. So I'm going to play that, and then I'm going to talk about the last scene because we are going to Skinwalker Ranch tonight. Super stoked. So, and of course, we're going to go live there as well tonight. So definitely, if you're interested in that, I will put out notifications when we're going live later today. But so yeah, I'm gonna play it for you guys. You don't have to, you know, if you can donate, great. If not, just smash that like button real quick. Oh, here, let me play the bigger one. I don't have my mic on. Thanks, Rocky. Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to bring back something. Of course, we always talk about bad stuff, and, we like to kind of lighten the mood there. So I'm still trying to edit the dance there, but something to, like I said, that's an ode to Chris Farley, because I love Chris Farley, and I love to try to make people laugh, and I don't mind humility. So, thank you so much, Rocky, for the $20. Love you. It's funny. Thank you so much. So one last thing before we get off here. So we're going to Skinwalker Ranch. If you have not heard of Skinwalker Ranch, like I said, I do, murder mystery to the paranormal on this channel. And the paranormal side of it that I do on this channel is really more like true kind of paranormal. I don't just do like ghost videos or anything. We actually go to like the stories we do, are like Skinwalker Ranch, which are based off true events. So if you don't know about Skinwalker Ranch, that is here in Utah where I live. Just the short and skinny of it is that a lot of stuff happened, back in the 1800s, but we'll just kind of jump to let's see, when did they buy that? The Shermans acquired it in 1992. So the Sherman family acquires the ranch. Now there was UFO and paranormal activity before that, but it seems like it really jumped off in the 80s and 90s. And this was considered one of the most hottest spots for paranormal activity on the planet. And this actual area has been more researched than any other area on Earth as far as like paranormal / UFO activity. It's pretty crazy. They have also done now 3 seasons on this History Channel for the Skinwalker Ranch, which is pretty crazy. There's a lot of history behind it, and I'm not going to go into it all because I got to get ready for the trip. But basically, what it is they believe that this was land that ended up getting cursed, and they believe that the Skinwalkers, kind of like shamans, would. Let me read it here. So one day, shortly after settling into their dream country homestead, the Shermans, who they bought this farm in the mid-90s, they started seeing a fearsome animal, so that's what the Skinwalker, it's a shapeshifter. It can change usually into like a wolf or a coyote, kind of like a dire wolf if you've seen Game of Thrones. And so one of the first encounters was this dire wolf, and it was a giant, this big wolf, and it started attacking one of their cattle. So they started shooting at it, but it had no effect on this wolf. And finally, it let go of the cow and ended up walking away. But they noticed that there was like rotting flesh on the ground that stunk really bad. And they followed the tracks, and then the tracks would just disappeared. And that was kind of like their first encounter with this ranch when they first bought it. After that, it just went crazy from there. They started seeing different orbs and lights in the sky. Some were orange, some were blue. Obviously, they saw UFOs. One time they saw what looked like a portal on the ranch, and they could see into like another world. And what's crazy is they saw stuff like crawling out of this portal, and they could see it like coming onto the ranch. There's just so much. So obviously we'll talk about more of that history when we're driving up there. I think we might go live just before we get there, and then obviously we'll go live for like an hour, probably about an hour when we're up there. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, that will be. So it gets dark around 7 p.m. here, so that's 9 p.m. Eastern time. So I would say we'd probably go live 6:30 to 7:30. So I would say like 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time when we will go live. Somewhere in there. So True Crime Web says shrooms. Well, man, that must be some crazy shrooms. And I'll say this is, like I said, they actually brought out research group when Bigelow actually bought it in 2000. And I actually bought it in 96. And he actually brought out a science group called NIDS. And they actually researched it for 6 years. 96 to, even 2013. So actually longer than that. But it's pretty interesting. And then obviously Skinwalker, the History Channel, began filming The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch in 2019. They do now have 3 seasons of it. It's pretty interesting. So, like I said, we're going to go up there and check it out for ourselves. We've been up there once, but we're going to do it again. We did kind of catch something on camera, which was kind of cool. So yeah, if you're into that, look out for us. Look out for a notification later tonight, somewhere around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I think we'll have a lot of fun. And yeah, Shooms are bad. Yeah. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you guys for all the donations and the Rita, and I'm trying to think of everybody. Bailey, for becoming a member. You guys are awesome. And like I said, we'll be on later tonight. So we're going to end it there. And obviously we do outros for pets for our viewers. I will be doing a new outro really soon. Probably put one together at the end of this week. So if you sent them in recently, your pictures of your pet, I will get them worked in probably at the end of the week. So with that, I love you guys. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, mods. You guys are awesome. We'll see you later tonight.